Well, good evening. Good evening. Are you all ready?
Yeah.
You know, we have three people here on the stage, not because Mr. Ratan Tata, as the chairman of Tata Sons, built a $100 billion business, not because Murthy started from nothing and built a large corporation with 150,000 people, not because Dr. Mashelkar, who grew up with nothing, became the top scientist of the country and has been recognized by all the famous universities in the world. We have all the three of them on stage because they are the best human beings. Let's give them a warm Hubli welcome. Ratan, I would like to give you a little bit of feel for the people that we have in the audience. You know, we have citizens, but also as members of TiE, we have roughly about 10 businesses that are about 1,000 crores, about 40, 50 businesses that are somewhere in the 100 crore business, and quite a few of them that are more than 20, 30 crore business. And then the new generation of entrepreneurs, a bunch of them who have started brand new companies. Now, I know you do business globally, and how will this globalization and the world in the next 10 years change, and what are the opportunities for businesses in places like Hubli and Dharwad? Yeah.
I think the opportunities of companies even here to go global or to go pan-India in the first instance is a question of their creativity in being able to build a business not based on winning in a small community and winning by some subjective means, but by setting their goals to be the best executor of a business at first perhaps on a national basis, being competitive nationally, and then once you achieve that, being competitive internationally. So you have a moving target of goals and the sincerity of purpose to meet those goals. The opportunity, I think, for India as a whole, and small businesses and medium-sized businesses from a country as creative as ours and with such a large young population, is enormous. And all I would say is that people should allow their creativity to play as much of a role as it does, let's say, in the United States, and that the people who have the funds to support them should be equally visionary to support a good idea and a capable management.
Well, you know, Dr. Mashelkar, as Ratan says, we need a lot of creativity. Somehow, India always believed that either you worship Saraswati or Lakshmi. But you have a different view. What's your take on that?
My view is that we must find a route from Saraswati to Lakshmi. It's very clear that money is given and research converts money into knowledge. But it is innovation which converts knowledge into money. Now, we have been doing the first very well in India. The government kept on giving us money and we kept on converting into knowledge. But conversion of that knowledge into money, creating wealth, was something that we didn't do very well. I remember when I took over CSIR, Council of Scientific Industrial Research, I remember saying not publish or perish, but patent, publish and prosper, because patent is potentially monetizable knowledge. And we made a huge difference, even exporting our technologies to the Western world. And we changed the systems in such a way that not only research was done as a business, but it was done in a business-like manner. And the same organization rose up to that challenge. And now, looking back anymore. So that has been our view, and now it's a combined view, let us say, of the organization that I led, plus also the scientists in the country. They have changed their mindset quite a bit.
So, I think if you have a good idea and you have an opportunity and you want to build a business, in places like Hubli, building the team and delegating authority is a big challenge. So, you're a man who has a very large organization. What is the secrets? What is it that they should know as to how to run a larger organization and build a team where you can delegate?
Perhaps I'm going to say something quite contrary to what people would expect. I think all of us sitting here, you included, if you look back, the most enjoyable years of your career was when you had a small business with a small team that you handpicked with you, and those were the most exhilarating times. It certainly has been with me. So you have the capability, I think anybody has the capability of building a team. That team building in a small scale, going through adversity as a small company, battling the marketplace when you have an unknown brand, when your credibility is not there. Looking back on that is the real grounding of the capability you have in scaling that business up. Many people are unable to make that transition, are unable to let go and delegate responsibility, as you need to do more and more as your organization gets bigger. As we all know, Germany has, the German engineering economy is built on SMEs, small and medium enterprises, where somebody produces just a certain part of medical equipment, but he's the #1 deliverer in the world. And his empire is very small, but very relevant, very contemporary, and always at the leading edge of technology. So I think that it's difficult to say what one should do. I think it's the capability of having a natural migration from a small company with total involvement to a large company where you move to a visionary position and a strategic position, and not a day-to-day operational position.
Mm-hmm. So Murthy, if we were to wind the clock back 25 years, when you were small, how did you build that credibility?
Well, I think it's all about earning respect from every stakeholder, from customer, by delivering on time, with within the agreed budget, with employees by being fair and open and transparent, with investors by following the best principles of corporate governance, with the government of the land by not violating any laws, and by creating harmony with the society. That's at one level. At the second level, I think it is all about, as I said this morning, attracting, training or enabling, empowering or creating an environment where people see benefit in doing what is good for the corporation and retaining the best and the brightest talent. third, once you have got such people, creating systems, processes, and leveraging the power of technology to make the organization as safe as possible in spite of key people leaving the organization. However, making all the effort to ensure that people are enthusiastic to continue with the organization. Then benchmarking with the best global standards in everything that you do, whether it is in your accounting, whether it's in your human resources practice, whether it's in your quality standards, whatever, in everything. And finally, in embracing innovation, in improving month after month, week after week, by asking three questions. How can I do things in a shorter period today compared to what I did last month or last week or last quarter? How can I do things, how can I produce things cheaper today compared to what I did last week or last month or last quarter? And finally, how can I improve the quality of what I deliver better today compared to last week or last month or last quarter? And creating an environment where everybody feels like walking into the office happy and and enthusiastic every morning after leaving the company physically and mentally tired the previous evening.
So, Mr. Ratan Tata, if you focus on a business, you have a creative idea, and you actually execute well. The question that a lot of people here struggle with is when should they diversify? That is, in some ways, I think a lot of these businesses diversify a little too early. I mean, they typically have businesses that span a lot of things. They do a little bit of development, a little bit of trading, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, lots of little different things. Now, that is fundamentally different than a very diversified business that you ran. You know, you were in tea and steel and software, mining, all kinds of stuff. How is, of course you had the size. When should they focus and when should they diversify?
Again, in today's world, it's a difficult question to respond to. In past decades, the conglomerate was an attractive form of a business empire. Most of the diversity of the Tata Group took place 40 to 50 years ago. Would we have done that today if we just were a TCS or just were a Tata Steel or just were Tata Motors? I think is the relevant question for you. And I remember when I started my career in Tata Steel, if you had a byproduct, the tendency of the management was set up a company to market that because that's a new business. And so Tata Steel has ended up with maybe 20 subsidiaries, some in a controlled and a protected environment, sustainable. In an open market, not so sustainable. Those subsidiaries had their byproducts, their issues, set up their subsidiaries, and you have a proliferation of companies, many of them supported by the parent company because they're no longer relevant. I think diversity should be very carefully undertaken. If it strategically helps your company and does not take focus away from your prime business, I think that's the model that should govern today.
So it's more collaboration. That is, the lesson for a lot of the businesses here is that, you know, typically if you're buying something, like Mr. Ratan Tata is saying a long time ago, you immediately said, well, let me own that business too, because why give that business to somebody else? But given the new global competition, unless people are focused, they can't build that original business. Is that the lesson?
You know, something that I was responsible for, I headed a commercial vehicle company in telco. And we had a 60% plus market share. And I asked myself, how long could we keep on growing that market share as competition started coming in? And therefore, should we be in passenger cars also? This is in every single way a diversification. Was it easy? No, it wasn't, because anybody that fools themselves into thinking that the requirements and the skills and the managerial approach in both those businesses are similar, it's only the hardware that's similar in concept, not even in quality or durability, etc. And marketing is totally different, and the requirements of the business totally different. So you then realize what you have stepped into, if you might, and then you need to have the will to fight in the marketplace, to succeed. And I was fortunate to have a very spirited organization that made that transition, without which it would have been difficult to do.
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you. Dr. Mashelkar, you know, places like Hubli, Dharwad, Belgaum, they are closer to the people, the majority of the people who live in India. You talked a lot about Gandhian engineering, solutions for many. What do you mean by that?
Well, I believe that as technological advances take place, what you find is the Western world is looking for more from more. And when it comes to poor people, they say less for less. And that is the one that creates a great divide. On the other hand, the moment you say more from less, you're bringing the word closer. For example, Ratan is sitting here. More from more. You are rich, you drive a Mercedes car. Less from less. You are poor, you drive a scooter. More from more, less from less. Creating big division. It was Ratan who conceived Nano, world's cheapest car, and said that I'm going to give the comfort, the safety, the fuel efficiency, and the rest of it, and the functional feel of a car at the same price, or almost the same price, as a two-wheeler. I had called it Gandhian engineering for an effect. I'll be honest with you. Because what happened was that about 5 years ago, the Australian Academy had honored me with a fellowship, and they invited me to speak. And the title of my talk was Indian Innovation from Gandhi to Gandhian Engineering. Because what was implicit to Gandhi was the fruits of science, fruits of research must reach the poorest of them. That was one. And the second, he had also said that there is enough for everyone's need, but not for everyone's greed. Now put it together. When you talk about more from less, it is available for more and more people, right? Because you are delivering at affordable costs. So more from less for more and more people. Now these more and more people could be the current as well as the future. Your great-grandchildren, their great-grandchildren, and so on and so forth. So it becomes something like balance people, planet, and prosperity. You know what I mean? So it amounts to doing well, not and doing good, but doing well by doing good, so as to say. That was the principle of Gandhian engineering we talked about. And, who is no more, he and I wrote a paper in Harvard Business Review on innovation's holy grail, where we talked about this, and I think we published the paper in July, August 2010, and World Economic Forum had a full day session on more from less for more, or sort of Gandhian engineering, because the rest of the world now is beginning to realize, even the Western world, at the age of abundance gives way to age of austerity. They themselves are looking at learning something from India, which is Gandhian engineering, getting more from less for more, relevant engineering, as Ratan talked about, inclusive innovation, frugal innovation. Even somebody has written a book called Nanovation, by the way. Free works. You know, Ratan, these two Americans have written a book called Nanovation, emphasizing this entire philosophy of getting more from less for more, and what changes you need from our earlier more from more and less from less that created a bigger divide in the society.
So Ratan, you're probably way ahead of the game in terms of actually attempting and practicing Gandhian engineering in terms of nano, water purifiers, ginger hotels. What is easy and what's hard about these things? What is easy and what is hard as you build a business?
I think each business would have its own unique issues, problems, and satisfaction. You mentioned two low-cost hotels and the nano. Let me just talk over nano for a few minutes. The nano was developed as an affordable car to give the citizens of India who were riding with their family under open conditions an all-weather safe form of transport. Unfortunately, it got conceived as the cheapest car, and with that went an illusion of I'll be looked at as a poor person in the nano, rather than an aspirational person that had moved from two-wheelers to a car. And that hurt us in the sense that we found that there was a sort of negative snob effect that took place. And what we are now trying to do is to recontent the nano so that it's not the cheapest car. We will continue to have a benchmark as the cheapest car, but to create a nano that does not fulfill that kind of image. In the case of hotels, the company developed a low-cost hotel which would provide amenities to the traveling salesman, the young engineer who had no equivalent living accommodation, that was clean, had all the facets of hotel, but no frills. And that has had many copycats, if you might, so that model works. There's a third model that I think exists in India, that's the low-cost airlines. I heard a very interesting comparison by somebody who conceived of low-cost airlines internationally. He said, for India, what I want to do is I want to compete with the train service and the bus service. I want to replace the difference in cost by the ease of getting from place A to place B in a period of time. It's not a prestige issue, it's a necessity. It's an interesting issue because he's equating all the facets of time, cost of a ticket, ease of travel, etc., into a product that he's offering. So I think it's an issue of addressing the segment of the population you want. Why that segment? Because everybody's addressing the tip of the pyramid. And if you take the base of the pyramid, you're looking at a market size of 500 to 600 million people. That's not something to scoff at. And if you go all over India, you see television dishes. There's aspirational need in India as our country becomes prosperous. So there's a huge market there if you are able to address it.
Great. Well, you know, one of the things we just saw Akshay Patra, and you saw the power of bringing the execution excellence to the nonprofit world. And Tatas have always known as not only the greatest business execution organization, but also very philanthropic in terms of everything they do. So a lot of the people sitting here who are now pretty wealthy, I mean, you know, they build profitable businesses and they have a lot of resources and so on. How should they be thinking about participating in inclusive growth? That is, you know, a lot of them sort of say, well, maybe at the end of my career, when I've made enough money, when I retire, maybe I'll engage. But what can they do now as they're growing their businesses to participate in inclusive growth and become a part of the building the nation?
Perhaps I don't want to sound holier than thou, but it seems to me that everybody that enters a business environment and offers something to customers needs to honestly believe that he's being fair to the customer and honest to the customer he serves. Not that he's screaming off that customer in some form or cutting a corner that gives him an added margin. He needs to go to bed at night feeling that he has contributed to the prosperity of the country, that he has not succumbed to the temptation of making a fast buck, but that he has, in fact, done something that he feels proud of, and that he will, over time, grow his business based on his excellence. And if one can do that and honestly practice that, I think there's a tremendous sense of reward, both in terms of how the customer looks at you and how you address the market. One thing that the Tata Group may have achieved, if not totally, is that there's been an honest endeavor to give the customer a fair deal and all stakeholders a fair deal, and often at the cost of the promoters. And I think that has been recognized, and while we're not making an issue of that, I think everyone should have that kind of satisfaction when they go home at night, that they've upheld that criteria.
So, Murthy, you sort of followed those principles, and not only do you satisfy your customers and keep them happy, but you and Sudha have been engaged in a lot of philanthropy. What message do you have for not only just the business people, because in the audience here, we have a lot of people from Hubli, people who have just retired from their jobs, teachers, professors, business people, aspiring politicians. How should they participate in the overall growth of our nation?
Well, you know, philanthropy is not new to this country. While CSR activities and philanthropy as part of CSR may be somewhat recent, of course the Tatas have demonstrated for probably 100 plus years, but by and large it may be somewhat new for most corporates. But at family level, we have always done that. Let me give you a simple example of that. In the South, we have this concept called Varana. That means when we were small, my mother and father would invite one student to come and have each meal with us. In other words, we would have 14 students come and share one meal a week. It was a small contribution. It is nothing big. You know, we were 8 children, therefore, you know, and then my grandmother, when you're talking of 11 people eating, one more person, the 12th person was not a big deal. It's very easy to adjust. But there was a spirit, there was a very important message behind that, and that is, my father was most of his he was a high school teacher, so he was not a wealthy man by any standards. But the message that he sent and my mother sent was that no matter how uncomfortable we are, how poor we are, we will indeed share a little bit of that with people less fortunate than us. I think that is the crux of the problem. As long as everybody here says, I don't have to give like a Tata company or an Infosys or something like that, or even what you're doing, Deshpande Foundation, but in my own small way, I will bring smile onto the face at least one more being. If you did that, as Ratan said, you will sleep better. That's all what I would like to say.
Thank you. Ratan, all the regions like Hubli, their big question always is, what do the regions have to prepare themselves with to attract larger companies to come to these regions? But then I see both sides of that thing. And then if the big companies come into the region, then how do the small companies survive? There is sort of a fear on both sides. How should these regions think about this?
I think there are 3 or 4 obvious tenets that attract larger companies. One is the investor friendliness of the region or the state or the principal area that you are operating in. And this is over and above, are you close to the market, are you close to the raw material supply, or whatever the very traditional forms of location may be. So, is it an investment-friendly area where you are welcomed as an investor? Is there adequate infrastructure so that you can run your business, power, roads, connectivity, communications, logistics, etc.? And are there the requisite skills available in the area that can man your plant effectively? Is the labor environment conducive to a partnership, which I think we should all look at our labor force as? If we look at it from an exploitative point of view, if we look at it from, is it just a place for cheap labor, if we look at it for purposes of self-interest, then I think you're making the wrong decision in looking at a location. But if you're an enlightened employer and you decide that you want to be fair to your customer, you want to be fair to your employee, and you consider that employee to be your partner, you consider your customer also to be your partner, I think you're looking at a place that has infrastructure that you can run your business well, and everything else is going to fall in place.
So having the right infrastructure is a great way to get ready for bigger operations in the region. So, Dr. Mashelkar, you sort of globally travel around, and you're probably aware of a lot of the big innovations happening in science and technology and so on, whether it's life sciences, energy, or material science, nanotechnology. What are the technologies that people sitting here would, number one, benefit from these big breakthroughs, and how will it impact their businesses?
Well, I honestly believe that as we explore more, we dare more, we take more risks, we are going to get into the mode of not just incremental innovation, but disruptive innovation. Somehow or the other, we are losing out on time. India, for example, we just don't need inclusive growth. We require accelerated inclusive growth. What it means is that we cannot move incrementally. We have to actually move disruptively. It's not that we are not capable of doing that. Let me just take this example because Ratan is sitting here. For example, the exact number is not known, but let's say 200 million illiterate people in India. It will take 20 to 21 years. But you can do it in 5 years if you use computer-based functional literacy that TC has developed. 100 rupees per individual. In fact, I remember when Dr. Manmohan Singh took over as the Prime Minister, I had a conversation with him. In fact, he asked me, he said, Mashelkar, I have 5 years. What should I be doing? One thing that I should be doing. And I said, sir, you can make the entire country literate in 5 years by using computer-based functional literacy. I think the point I'm trying to make is that these big breakthroughs which can just do a turnaround are around the corner, because if you deep dive into the way computer-based functional literacy was derived, you will see they ask some fundamental questions in terms of recognition and so on and so forth. In the same way, I think the other problems that we are looking at, whether it is solar energy, whether it is decentralized power, whether it is water splitting, whether it has to do with new materials. I think what we'll have to do is that the breakthroughs are there. I think it's a question of very quickly converting them into something that can make a difference. For example, graphene. All right? Now, you already have had a breakthrough which got this Nobel Prize. And as I was telling the students, we could have had it in India because it didn't take $1 billion. The Russian postdoc who got the Nobel Prize just took the graphite, put it between two scotch tapes and just folded and unfolded them till a single atom layer was formed. And graphene is a terrific material. I mean, they will be the future electronics, they will be the future structural material. I think the question is, how quickly can we have these scientific breakthroughs get themselves converted into applications within the price performance envelope that basically we have to move. I think that is where the skills are going to sort of reside. The third point I want to make is that I don't think the big ideas of the future are just going to come from US, Europe, and so on and so forth. The Indias and Chinas of this world, they will produce these big ideas as we change our mental attitudes that yes, we can also think disruptively. Of course, that requires also a fundamental cultural change, because the kind of not only investment that are being made in science and technology, but risk-taking, for example, is being promoted. So I personally feel that the geography of science, technology, and innovation is changing. It is getting bigger, so as to say, and therefore don't be surprised if the breakthroughs come in areas like water, energy, climate change, advanced materials, life sciences, and so on and so forth, from the so-called most unexpected quarter, that is India and China.
Murthy, in the audience here, in the last 5 years, because of TiE, because of the new opportunities, we have a lot of young entrepreneurs. Some of them have sprouted, some of them are still a seedling in the ground, some of them are a little bit of growth there. What advice do you have for them in terms of how should they hang in there and make sure that the opportunity really bears fruits?
Well, to me, entrepreneurship is about converting an idea into jobs and wealth. So therefore, the first requirement that an entrepreneur must have is to have an idea whose value to the market can be expressed in a simple sentence. Not a complex sentence, not a compound sentence. No ifs, no buts, no nevertheless. If you will have to say, my idea is cheaper than all other existing products in the market, or my idea has better quality than all other products in the market, or my idea does things faster than all other ideas. In other words, the value of your idea to the market, be it consumers, be it corporates, doesn't matter. That differentiated value proposition must be expressible in a simple sentence. Number one. Number two, the entrepreneur must do some test marketing, find out if the market really embraces the idea or values the idea. I can cite several cases today, we don't have much time, I don't want to do that, where what was considered as a brilliant idea failed in the marketplace. Third, entrepreneurship is all about deferred gratification, which means sacrifice today in the hope that tomorrow will bring lots of wealth, lots of recognition, all of that. Therefore, the entrepreneur and his or her team must be able to make a lot of sacrifice, being away from families, living living very frugally, working very hard, all of that. That requires an enduring value system. And I think then you have to bring together a team that has complementary strengths. That is, you should have somebody who understands finance, somebody who understands human resources, somebody who understands technology, somebody who understands sales and marketing, etc., etc. Let me give you a simple data point. Between 1979 and 1982, there were 13 people who started companies like us, like Infosys. But today there's only one that has gone wherever it has gone. That's Infosys. And the reason is, we made it, I made sure that we had a team complementary strengths. The rest of them, either they were all sales and marketeers, or they were all finance people, or they were all technology people. And most of them were smarter than us. But we ensured that we had all the required competencies. So therefore I would say, if you strive for these, then you are enhancing the probability of your success. It's still not guaranteed, but you are enhancing the probability.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I'm sure all of you agree that we could be listening to the three of them all night, but just to respect the amount of time that they've agreed to, I'm going to bring this to a close, this part of the evening. So maybe I'll get one final comment from each one of them. Dr. Mashelkar, this is your very first trip to Hubli, and you spent about almost 12 hours in this town. What are your impressions, and what thought do you want to leave people from Hubli with?
Simple. I've been inspired. I can tell you that. I have had interactions with young people throughout the day. And I can tell you, there's a glint in their eye, there is a passion in their belly. The quality of questions that they asked today was incredible. I think the basic issue is each one of them getting a feeling that, yes, I can. In fact, it's amazing. In morning session, They asked me a question about my upbringing, my having come.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think we have a lot of people here who think that they're poor. They come from parents who are not good role models, who don't have education. Can you talk just a little bit about your childhood?
All right, I'll talk about it. I was born in a very poor family. My father died when I was 6. I walked barefoot until I was 12. I studied under street lights. Sometimes Bombay Central railway station, after the last train to Gujarat left at 10 o'clock, because there was light on the platform, I would study there. 2 meals a day was very tough. And at the same time, a miracle could happen to someone like me. And that's what I was trying to tell them in terms of, yes, we can. What was that miracle? 1st October 2011 was a very interesting day. On that day, the American Academy of Arts and Science, which was established in 1780 with Benjamin Franklin and George Washington, they honored 2 Indians on that day. After 1780, there have been a number of people, from Charles Darwin to Nelson Mandela to Einstein to Winston Churchill to all 200 Nobel laureates and Pulitzer Prize winners and so on. But how many Indians have been honored? 7, that's all. And the 6th and the 7th Indian signed on that day in the book. Who was the 6th Indian? Ratan Tata. And on the same page, another Indian signed after Ratan, it was me. Now, that's not so important perhaps, but what is important is that in 1960, after I had done my SSC, Secondary School Certificate Examination, I was about to leave the school because my poor mother couldn't afford my college education. And it was Gururaj Tata Trust which gave me 60 rupees per month for 6 years. Now in 1960, if somebody had said that 50 years down the line, the head of the house of Tatas and you will sign in the same book on the same page, one after the other, I would not have believed it. So it was access to education that made it possible. That's why you invited me to sit here next to Ratan. So I think what I want to mention to all our friends in Hubli is that it just doesn't matter where you come from. It is your grit, your determination, and remembering a simple equation. Somebody was asking me, what are the big equations? Somebody said force equal to mass into acceleration is a big equation. Einstein, E equal to mc square. I said, no. It is E equal to F. Education equal to future. As simple as that. Now, as long as you know that, I'll tell you, sky is the limit. That's all. And you can make impossible possible, like Ratan and I are sitting together here on the backdrop that I talked about.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Murthy, you've been coming to Hubli for a long time, 35 years. What message do you have for people from Hubli?
I said this to youngsters that I addressed today. I'm going to say it again because there's a larger audience. Today, India stands at a fork. There is an extraordinary potential for India to reach the dream of Mahatma Gandhi, who wanted the poorest child from the remotest village to have reasonable access to education, healthcare, nutrition, and shelter. Today, India occupies the high table in several multilateral fora. We are part of G20. Today, thanks to the non-resident Indians like you, who became wonderful, successful serial entrepreneurs. Today, thanks to people like Mashelkar, who went abroad, who demonstrated that Indians can be wonderful researchers. Today, thanks to people like Ratan, who have demonstrated that the power of compassionate capitalism. Indians have received considerable honor. Today, for the first time in my life, I see youngsters having confidence. When I was their age, I was not as confident. There is a confidence all around us that we can indeed solve the problem of our poverty. However, making it a reality, making that confidence a reality, requires a lot of discipline, a lot of determination, a lot of hard work, and some sacrifice. A civilized society to me is one where every citizen makes every sacrifice required to ensure that the next generation has a better quality of life. I want the citizens of Hubli to be the first citizens in this country to demonstrate that they can indeed be such high-quality citizens. I want the youngsters of Hubli to translate that confidence to achievement. But that will require, as I said before, a lot of hard work, a lot of honesty, a lot of discipline, a lot of determination. But when I was your age, when I was in my teens and 20s, I didn't see such confidence around me. I didn't see an environment of positivism that I see today. Therefore, you are a unique generation. If your generation does not convert this potential into a reality, you may regret. I don't want you youngsters to regret. Therefore, my request to every one of you, every youngster in the audience, is to make that possibility an absolute reality. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you. You know, Murthy talked about hard work and passion and effort, and a real role model for us in that dimension is Mr. Ratan Tata. Ratan Tata, as you know, just turned 75, but today he piloted his own plane all the way from Bombay to Hubli. He came and visited Akshay Patra. He opened the building, the mechanical engineering building in PVB. He's doing this event. Tomorrow he's got a whole day. He's going to pilot the plane back to Mumbai and then head to US tomorrow night. So some of us, when we turn 40, 50, 60, some of you at 20, really think that you're old. So every time you feel that you're old, always think about Mr. Ratan Tata. Woo! You know, I was going to say, Mr. Ratan Tata, what is your experience like being in Hubli for the first time? But that's not true. I believe as a young man, he came to Hubli to sell Nelco products, right? Radios. He came here to sell radios, long time ago. And so, Mr. Ratan Tata, would love to hear a few comments from you in terms of what is it, you know, people in the country and people in Hubli should look forward to.
Well, unlike Murthy or unlike Dr. Mashelkar, I've only been here on this occasion a few hours. In those few hours, I have been struck by the the vitality of the young people that I've interacted with. And that's not all of Hubli. And this young population, as I said earlier when we were in the auditorium, out of them are going to be some of the future leaders of India. And it's not confined to Hubli. India is a young country, and the next generation, which is a large part of our population, is going to have the opportunity and the responsibility of leading this country. And we ask ourselves, what is the potential of India? Is it a privilege or a curse to have the responsibility of leading this country? This country, as an Indian, and I'm sure both my colleagues here share the same view, as proud Indians, we believe that the potential of India is enormous. Do we feel that it has been able to achieve its full potential? I think, without being critical, we would say no. And in saying no, we're not being caustic or cynical. We're just saying that as Indians and as successful Indians, includes you, from what you have done globally, we believe that this country can be a real economic power. And what is that power embedded in? It's embedded in the mind, the creativity, and the opportunity of young people that we have, people around us that are here today. And we must not let that become arrogance or a sense of letting things pass. We must be a country of people who have the desire to see their country rise to a new height. And can we do it, as Dr. Mashelkar says? Yes, of course we can. We must have the will to do it, and I think embedded in what you see in the young people in Hubli and elsewhere, that fire in the belly, that glint in their eyes, the intelligence that they exude will make that happen. But there must be a desire to see it happen. And we need, of course, leaders who understand the need for it to happen, and not to accept second best or third best, but to demand the best, seek the best, and achieve the best. So I think as I sit here today, 75 years old, not because I have a plane or fly down here, but because of this very issue, I wish I were 25 or 30 and could look forward to the India that is going to be the prosperity of this region and be a part of that growth, which unfortunately I will not be a part to. But I will look from wherever I am as an Indian, a proud Indian who sees the country in a new light in the years to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Well, we have another 10 minutes of a very exciting program. We're going to have them seated on the stage, but I'm going to invite Gautam, and we're going to talk about a few very exciting TiE members who've done amazing things here in Hubli, so that all of you can be inspired and see the possibility of what can be done. Gautam?
Sir, on behalf of all the Hubli citizens, I bow to all of you. Thanks for sharing your experience. We all are enlightened. Friends, I'm sure we all need to give standing ovation to all the four legends. Can we stand up? Thank you. Please be seated. Keeping up with our tradition of recognizing successful entrepreneur, we have awards. I invite Madhuri to please come on the stage.
Good evening. Mukta Sango Anahamvadi Vriti Utsaha Sanvitaha Siddhi Asiddhi Anirvikaraha Karta Satvikamuchyate. A person with a vision, a mission, an action plan, and the necessary resources to implement the plan is sure to succeed in his endeavor. With this great management lesson enshrined in Bhagavad Gita, I, Madhuri Kulkarni, member of Awards Committee, TiE Hubli, take the pleasure of driving you all to the award ceremony on this wonderful evening. At TiE Hubli, we have the tradition of recognizing the spirit, the creativity, innovation, accomplishments, success, and excellence in entrepreneurship, and thus have various awards every year. May I now take the pleasure of requesting the entrepreneurial legend, Mr. Ratan Tata, to honor the awardees. The first category of awards, Lifetime Achievement Award for Entrepreneurial Personality. And this year, the award goes to a progressive leader, a rare visionary, and accomplished educationist who has redefined educational institutions for the 21st century along the path envisioned by the Saptarishis, whose institution has built the second largest hospital in India after AIIMS Delhi with 2,400 beds, the compassionate soul who brought high-tech medical facilities to the rural mass at their own places, who is the reason for the rebirth of the cooperative movement in North Karnataka, started School of Agriculture, 3 years course, the legendary architect of a resurgent institution that has grown from 38 institutions in the year 1984 to a global excellence of 227 institutions presently. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together and join me in congratulating the recipients of the Lifetime Achievement Award for Entrepreneurial Personality, none other than Dr. Prabhakar Kore. May I request TiE's Secretary, Dr. Prasad Dudhi, to escort Dr. Prabhakar Kore onto the dais. Presently, Dr. Prabhakar Kore is the Chancellor, KLE University, the Chairman, KLE Society, a sitting member of the Parliament, has to his credit many social, cultural, literary and artistic accomplishments, a man who is constantly moving forward, opening new doors and doing new things. Hats off to this entrepreneurial spirit. The award for the best entrepreneur goes to a person who believes that entrepreneurship is neither a science nor an art but a practice. Ventured to start his own conveyor manufacturing unit 22 years back. With his entrepreneurial spirit, ability and commitment, grew from one success to another, designed and manufactured the first hinged steel belt conveyor for the metal cutting industry in India in the year 1979, designed, manufactured and installed the largest centralized metal cutting coolant filtration unit in India in the year 1993. His industry recognized as the best in this region by the state government and the recipient of the Presidential Award as an outstanding small-scale entrepreneur in the year 1997. Please join me with a big round of applause in inviting one of the most successful and value-based industrialists of this region, Shri Mahadev Karmari, to please come over to the dais and receive the Best Entrepreneur Award. Mahadev Karmari is the Managing Director of Karnataka Conveyors Private Limited. Promoted another unit, Mass Rowing Engineering, in 2011. His social commitment is reflected through his associations with educational institutions, Chambers of Commerce, and North Karnataka Small Scale Industries Association. I believe most of you will agree with me when I say women are queens of multitasking, whether at home or at work. Well, quite a few women of this region are great entrepreneurs, and hence the award for the best women entrepreneur. And this year the award goes to a rare combination of talent, experience, and commitment to empower women, a leader who has influenced and changed the lives of 5,000 rural women by empowering them through financial support and cultivated the habit of savings amongst them, having a business administration degree from US, and has applied her global knowledge to the local need and formed the Adargunchi Cooperative Credit Society, and the society has received the Most Ideal Credit Cooperative Society Award from the Department of Commerce and Industry. I, on behalf of all the women present here, take pride to call upon the founder promoter of the Adargunchi Cooperative Credit Society, Mrs. Jayashree Shivkumar, to please come over to the dais and receive the Best Women Entrepreneur Award. Mrs. Jayashree is a multifaceted lady. Presently, she is a part of our family business too. She runs training programs for rural ladies and arranges medical checkup camps in villages. Well, second generation entrepreneurs do have a legacy, but some of them outgrow the existing family business. And we have amongst us a distinguished young second generation entrepreneur who has outgrown his family business and has created a name for himself. Hailing from a family leading in this region in the business of manufacturing trailers and agri equipment, took over the family business even as he was a student due to his father's untimely demise, expanded the family business 3 times, and ventured to start 2 companies on his own. May I now take the pleasure of inviting a successful young second generation entrepreneur, Shri Vinay Kupta Gowda, to please come over to the dais and receive the Best Second Generation Entrepreneur Award. Presently, Shri Vinay Kupta Gowda is the Managing Director of AIMS Farms Equipments Private Limited, AIMS BPO Solutions Private Limited, AIMS Feeds Private Limited, and partner of Amog Industries, VIJNS Industries, etc. Ladies and gentlemen, let me draw your attention to a very young guy of 19 years who has attempted the impossible and achieved it, and who got inspired to start his own venture after having not been able to get a seat at the IIT and took it as a challenge. Still a student of second year engineering at an engineering college, but adventures to start his own IT solutions company. Realized his inclination towards technology and entrepreneurship at a very young age and dreams to grow very big. Founder promoter of Boardbees Tech Solutions Private Limited, providing IT solutions with 7 employees and 15 interns presently, and dreams to grow still bigger. The Best Student Entrepreneur Award goes to Shri Anand Naik, and I call upon him to please come over to the dais and receive the award. Anand Naik is Managing Director and CEO of Boardbees Tech Solutions Private Limited, which has 2 units, Redolent Media, which deals with animation and visual effects, Decor My Floor, which is a magazine for interior design. We at TiE, in addition to recognizing successful entrepreneurs, also have the tradition of recognizing organizations promoting entrepreneurship, as we believe that creating leaders and supporting them is a very fundamental and important task in entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, I bet there is hardly anybody here who does not know of the organization which applies a bottom-up approach to build scalable solutions, has created, mentored, incubated, and supported leaders and entrepreneurs, has many educational training and incubation programs that prepare the youth to lead and manage the enterprises, has programs that charter entrepreneurial path for the local youth, and focuses on translating entrepreneurship from approach to action. And this organization is none other than the Deshpande Foundation, the recipient of the award for the best organization promoting entrepreneurship. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me with a big round of applause in welcoming Mrs. Jayashree Deshpande, co-founder of Deshpande Foundation, onto the dais to receive the award. I also welcome Naveen Jha onto the dais. Deshpande Foundation runs programs like LEAD, offering students an opportunity to bring about a change in their world and exhibiting entrepreneurial skills. Deshpande Fellowship Program to train and bring out entrepreneurs and incubating the deserving. Navodhyami, a program supporting young and new entrepreneurs. Congratulations to all the awardees. TiE Hubli wishes you all more and more success in the coming years. Thanks to Mr. Ratan Tata for doing the honors. Thank you one and all, and hooray to the entrepreneurial spirit in all of us. Thank you so much.
Well, would you all agree that this has been an unbelievable evening? Yes, sir. Do you all agree that the three men on stage have gone to extraordinary length to be with us this evening? Yes. So, it's a huge favor that they have done to us. If I asked you to do something for me, would you do it? Yes. Is that a promise? Yes. An absolute promise? Yes. Okay. When Mr. Ratan Tata stands up, I want each one of you seated to be seated. I don't want any of you to get up until he gets in the car. Anybody who's standing anywhere, I don't want you to move an inch. Photographers, if you want to take photographs, take as many as you want right now. But when he stands up, you're going to get out of the way. Is that a deal? Yes. Okay, do you want to take some photographs? Or are you done? Okay. So I want you to move, clear the path here, and nobody moves an inch, because it was horrendous getting here. And Mr. Ratan Tata, I think he did what he has to do, but that's not the experience that we want him to leave Hubli with. You're all civilized people, right? Okay. So can we clear the path there? Right now, is the path clear? Okay. So nobody moves, right? Good. Well, let's give them one last hand.